Hello and welcome to Focus on Israel, which looks at the Holy Land. I'm Paul Calvert. Psalm 17 verse 15 from the New King James Bible says this: As for me, I will see your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake in your likeness. I'm with Kobbi Shoshani, who is working in the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs Public Diplomacy Directorate. Now, Kobbi, what is that work that you're doing today?
Actually, I've just recently I came back from India. I was 4 years in India. In last summer, I came back to the ministry, and I worked there, arranging groups and let's call it friends of Israel from all over the world, bringing them to Israel and try to do our best to make them friends and to show them Israel in a different angle or perspective, to make them be part of our, supportive group around the world.
Is your work today still connecting people from India to Israel, or is it all the world?
I think that from all over the world, but I cannot take India from my heart. I like India very much. I like the people of India. I have so many friends still in India, and every delegation there is some Indian. Doesn't matter if he's coming from United States or from UK or Canada or from India. They are asking to meet me because I know them. I know many people from India. Like yesterday, I met someone who came from a mutual, delegation from the United States, Midwest, and 3 Indians were there. And one of them knows me because he's following me on social media, and he asked me to meet, and we met at the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And the connection with India is very, very important. And as you probably know, in India, Indians spread all over the world, like the Jews, more or less.
Yeah. Do you speak Indian, the language for India?
I think that I will answer to you like you answer to me. The problem in India, that most of the people speak English, and you don't, not most of them, but you don't need Hindi or Marathi. India is a United States of India. There's so many languages there, from West Bengal to Calcutta and South, and Hindi and Marathi and Gujarati and all these languages. Then you don't need to speak the language. I mean, you need to speak, but it's too complicated for me.
Yeah. Now, with Israel being at war, is your job been very difficult for public diplomacy?
I don't know if I can say it's hard or not, but it's a big challenge for Israel, definitely in recent days. As you probably know, we're almost 3 years in a wartime, and the public opinion around the world is sometimes negative. And we have to give them the information in the right way, especially for the young generation, the Gen Zs, which they don't have a lot of patience to listen, and what they see is just images. It's complicated. Definitely, it's complicated. Me personally, I don't feel it so much. In Israel, you live like in a bubble. You live around yourself. But definitely, we saw and we see the reaction around the world, and it's bother not only me, but all of us. We want to make friends, not to make enemies. That's definite.
Yeah. Now, you've already said from 2021 to 2025, you were the Consul General to Midwest India in Mumbai. That must have been a real privilege to represent Israel in India.
Definitely. I think that I knew India before I came there in 2021. I first time visited India in 1992. It was a long time ago. I came right after the establishment of the full diplomatic relations between India and Israel. It was not full diplomatic relations since 1948. In 1949, our consulate in Bombay at that time was the representative of the State of Israel without an embassy. In 1992, I was sent by the minister. I was a very young diplomat. I'm still a young diplomat, but I sent there to India, to New Delhi. And since then, I came and visited several times in New Delhi. I saw what's happened in India for many, many years. I think that I know India quite okay. I hope so. And 2001 was a big privilege for me to know India in the highest level and in the lowest level. And I met so many interesting people and so many famous from different angles, from politician to culture, from business to friends. And I had a big privilege, and I'm still in contact with all of them. And they're really, really good friends. India is a unique place, I have to say.
Does India have a good economy at the moment? And is Israel and India working together to develop projects together with the economy?
We have to be modest. I have to tell you in a very open and very open way. India is right now number 4th economy, strong economy in the world. And when I came to India in 2021, India was number 6 in the world. Then after 2-3 months, not because of me, of course, it jumped into the 4th place. And people said that in 2027, India going to be number 3 in the world in economy, strongest economy. You cannot compare 1.4 billion people with a very large industry to the state of Israel, which is a small. But the connection and between the two countries, the connection between initiatives and ideas into practical, it's a great things that happen between the two states. I think that we did a quite significant work between our two nations in the relations between nations economically and not only economically, to build up collaboration and coordination between the industry. And I think that what you see right now in India and also in Israel, people understand the needs to help each other. We need the help of India. I think that India needs us as well. And variety of fields of collaboration is extensively grow up.
Now, you were Consulate General. What does the Consulate General do?
It's a good question because most of the people ask the same all the time the same question, which means that we are not consul. In a huge countries like United States, like India, like China as well. Yes, Germany we have one consulate in Munich, München. But in huge countries, because there are few consulate as well, like the consulate in New York or the consulate in San Francisco or in the Midwest in Chicago or Los Angeles. It's like ambassador. Without dealing right now, because we don't have a Minister of Foreign Affairs. Of course, we work with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Of course, we are dealing with politics. Of course, we are dealing with all elements that you have at the embassies. It's like an ambassador in a consulate place, which is in charge for a large geography and connections with the politicians, with the industry, with the culture and everything. That is more or less, it's the same like ambassador. But it's in the Consulate General. You can see now in New York, the Consul General in New York, the Israeli consul or any consul, it's even more than ambassador. LA.
Are there similarities between Israel and India?
We have so many, I have to say. From the age, we were born in 1948, as you probably know. India was born in 1947. The same mother, by the way. But after a partition plan, which happened in 1947 in India and in 1948 in Israel, and War of Independence. And then a split of society. You probably know in Israel there are 80% more or less Jewish people, the rest are Muslims and Christians. In India is 80% more or less. It's very difficult to count in India. Hindus and the rest are Muslim, more or less. There is, of course, Christians, especially in some part of the country. That's the second thing, question of water, question of agriculture, enemies around. Some people say, external sources, even in the idea of bringing nuclear into the world, it was in India, it was more or less something which they tried to make the connection this way or another of the idea of how to present it this way or another. We are talking about, of course, culture. We can compete. We are very bad in football, I have to say as well. India and Israel, which is the bad size. But even in the religion, and I think that you are dealing also from a religion point of view, there is a very interesting point of view of connection. Because even if you will see an Indian wedding, for example, you will see a lot of elements that we share the same thing in the wedding, in a Jewish wedding. That's the first thing. The holidays, the calendar is a lunar calendar. Of course, it's a combination. In India, it's a combination between lunar, but also the Jewish calendar is a lunar calendar, which is also very, very interesting. We have castes. Even in Israel, we have 7, the ancient time, 12 tribes. In India, you have 4 castes, which is split, and it's really similarity. When I speak to the Indian people, I write very fast, understand the connection between people, because I make an equivalent formula. I see what's happening in Israel, and that was my strength, because I knew exactly, I can understand India in a very fast way because of this idea, because of the similarity between the people. We look the same. The food is maybe a little bit different, but in Israel we like very much Indian food. But I wrote a book about India and Israel, its similarity, and it's actually through a journey, odyssey in Israel and India, social odyssey, to try to explain to the Israeli people what is India, and to the Indian people what is Israel, in the terms that they can understand. And I wrote it was translated already to 3 languages as well. One of them is Marathi, which is the language of Maharashtra, and very soon it's going to be in Hindi, in English, of course. Then that was part of my contribution to the understanding between the 2 states.
Yeah, you wrote the book, 7 Rivers, 7 Gates. Tell us a little bit more about the book.
The book is, as I said, is a journey of me throughout my childhood in the terms of an Indian, My father was, he was he was a young at that time, he revolted against the British. Like in India, they call it the Britishers. And my mother came from the other side of the political map. And they didn't accept him as her brothers because he was from the other side. And in India, it's the same thing. The Congress was the ruling party, and the BJP, which today is the ruling party in India, didn't accept the BJP. Then I speak in the terms that Indian people can understand in a political way. It's a little bit controversial. It's not something that you can read it just for fun. It's a very controversial book. Try to explain to the Indian and the Israeli to look about themselves through a mirror, this way or another. Then I get a very good reaction. Some, of course, it's I talk about culture, about Bollywood, about incidents that I had to explain to them the sensitivity between right and left, the sensitivity between secularism and pluralism, and keeping the religion and tradition, which is a very, very important thing in India and in Israel, by the way. It's a part of the division between right and left, between people who are more religious and secular. I'm secular completely. Then this is something that touch the wounds and the veins of the Indian people and the Israeli people. And it shocked a little bit, because when you read about India and then understand just for a second, it's the same thing in Israel. And I explained to them, some of them like it, some of them less, but definitely it's give you a different angle and perspective about the two countries.
Mm. Are there many Jews in India, and what is Jewish life like in India?
I have to say that most of the Jews came to Israel during the 50s. They came from the south part of India, in Kerala, in Kochi, what they call it today. Some of them came to Israel from during the 60s, 70s from Mumbai. Today, I think that there is estimation of around 3,000 people, Jews, live in India. They're keeping their Jewish tradition and life, holidays and everything. They have synagogues. But I have to tell you the truth, which I don't like. I think that in the next years, we will not see so many Jews in India. Most of them will go, all the young generation go back to Israel. And the Jewish community a little bit become small and small. And I assume that one day it will be like the Baghdadi Jews. You have, several groups, Baghdadi, Bnei Israel, Cochin, disappeared. Some of them in England, some of them are moved to Israel, but they kept the tradition also here in Israel. I was invited several times to several events that the Indian Jews made here with a very Indian tradition. It's a unique story. It's a unique story. It's different communities. There are three communities, main communities in India. It's a big and a very interesting story that started 2,000 years ago.
Now, in the West, we're seeing a lot of anti-Semitism taking place. Is that happening in India as well, particularly because of the war, what happened on October the 7th?
I read the book about, the name of the book is Mother India, Father Israel, or Father Israel, Mother India. I don't remember the right angle of the name of the book. And one of the stories was a lady that actually, it's short stories, that she started to learn about anti-Semitism in Europe. And she wrote in the book, and it was very, very strange that for me as an Indian Jew, I never suffered from any persecution or discrimination or any other, prejudice towards the Jews. In the contrary, and it's true even today. The Jews are minority in India, very small minority, 1.4 billion to 3,000 people. It's nothing. But everybody respect them and love them, give them no whatsoever. During the First World War and the Second World War, the synagogues there stands firm and openly, and the community live there in a very open way. It's not like in other places around the world, I'm sorry to say, like in Europe or other states. India is welcome Jews and they love Jews. There is a big story about one of the generals in 1971, General Jacobs, that was part of the big victory against Pakistan, which bring also the Jewish perspective into a better approach.
What can the two countries learn from each other?
I think, first of all, we learn from the Indian people a lot of things. We have to be modest all the time. They have an industry which I like very much. I think that the way that they make films, in my point of view, I'm a big fan of Bollywood. It's a fantastic. The ability to sell, Indian people, they are sales people. They know how to sell it. They know how to produce it in a minimum and to make the margin in a very small quantity because of the. From Israel, I think that they can learn how to build the ecosystem, how to bring an idea into reality. And I think that in this case, I assume, sorry for the words, we are leading the world with it, to bring an idea, academic idea, into practical. To produce it is a different story. This is something that we are still in a problem with that. And this is India. And that's the connections that I always speak about India. I know we have an initiative, we have a system here. They can learn how to make water from non-water or from a salty water. And I think that recently they signed an agreement, and I'm very, very with that, in Maharashtra, in Mumbai, of a desalination unit. That's a part of a collaboration. Of course, it's going to be built by Indians, but the idea and the know-how is come from Israel, and I'm very, very proud of that. Of course, in the military field, you have a lot of collaboration and coordination. Everybody speaks about it. It's not a big secret. But definitely, I think that it's something that we can learn from each other. We need India. We need India as a gate to the East. We need as a market. We need it as a production hub. We need India for the fantastic labor. You know that in Israel right now there are 40,000 Indian workers working from real estate, construction until care, take care, people who work with elderly people. And I think that the more Indian will come to Israel, it will be good for the relations between the two states.
What is your hope for relations between India and Israel in the future?
I have to tell you in a very open way. I told you about Bollywood. I want to sing, which I try to do at the utmost to make it happen. Indo-Israeli reproduction film that actually moved between India and Israel and also England because of the history. There is some script already. I try to make some connections and also bring some good actors to be part of it. I think in India, because the film industry is extremely important, is to make the connections between the two. And I hope that India will do great thing in the next future, that it will grow the relations together.
So we could have Bollywood films in Jerusalem.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. I know many Indian film actor or actress from India personally. I want to see them here definitely to run in Jerusalem or in Tel Aviv or in Haifa. They like Haifa very much.
How can people get a hold of your book, 7 Rivers, 7 Gates?
First of all, they can Google it and they can find it. We have in Amazon, and very soon it's going to be in India as well. I will be to sell the book is not important for me. I'm not a money person. What is important for me is to make the connection, to ask people to react. Call me to say that's mistake, that I don't agree with you. I want people to, that's very, very important. Of course, they can, and also people from India, they bought the book in a very large copies because in Marathi, and I hope that very soon it's going to be in Hindi. It's under translation and it's going to be very, very soon. But the idea is not to sell. The idea is to learn. And that's the most important thing for me. I'm very, very active in the social media. And people call me and ask me and send me messages. I'm very, very active. I try to send every day something on social media from a variety of issues, from personal to international relations, of course, Indian relations as well. I'm still very much connected.
Well, Kobbi, thank you very much for sharing today.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you for joining us today. Pray that God will move by his mighty power in the Holy Land and bring his peace.